Hello everybody, my name is Alckemy, welcome to the channel. Right now we are looking at Current 2.0, which is Minimal Audio's latest and greatest update to their flagship synth. If you already own this, then you can update this for free right now, so you can follow along to the video or, go mess around and go play. If you don't, this is currently on sale for $100 where it's normally being sold for $200, or you can join their subscription system, which gives you all access to everything they have for $15 a month. This synth is interesting because it tries to do a lot of things different while still maintaining a familiarity if you're used to things like Serum or Vital. What I mean by that is that if you look at the main outlook of everything, it's, your two oscillator system, you have your FM, and the like, but this also has a granular engine, it's got a sub oscillator, it has a regular sampler built into it, and then it has some cool arpeggiator stuff that is at the bottom with, changing this and locking it to keys and scales and chords and whatnot. One of their latest updates that they've recently released with this is a new XY pad. It doesn't look super interesting until you have something like this to where you might not notice this at first, but it's really nice that the colors of whatever this is reflects into the UI, and I just thought that was pretty nice. But this is a cool way that you can play and express these patches that you have if you like doing something performance or you're on stream or something of the sort and that like. The way that this works is there are macros over on the left, which is akin to the macros here. And then on the right, you can cycle and toggle through between muting or turning off, toggling rather, the different oscillator engines that this has to offer. So yeah, I think it's really cool. With that being said, the big thing for me that they've recently added are two major things. One is that they have a matrix system now, and this is just a really easy way to start to figure out where everything is going as opposed to hunting it down within the modulators themselves, which I'm glad and really appreciate that they... Oh, I didn't see that. That's cool. If you pull this up, then it will show everything that this is mapped to. That's a handy feature. But now with this, you can kind of, navigate a little bit easier with your patch, or if you're trying to deconstruct patches and stuff, like for example, this is not something that I made. You can pull this up and be like, all right, where is everything going? And you can, be like, what happens if I turn this off? What happens if I turn this on? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They've also recently updated their stream view with kind of how they tried to invite you, I would say, to all of the sounds that they have. And I will say that the browser system here is pretty awesome because not only can you kind of cycle through and have everything categorized pretty neatly, you can also demo the sounds. So if I'm like, oh, I'm looking for a bass, but I don't want to upload the patch, which can sometimes take time, I can just be like, oh, okay. Or what does that sound like? Okay, cool. What does that sound like? It's also a really easy way to demo the synth because I don't have to play anything. I can just be like, hey, here's some presets. This one's probably one of my favorites. And one thing that you might notice about this synth as well, which is not a new feature, but just something that I really like about it, is that it sounds really good. Just the engines themselves are pretty, like, they feel super high quality compared to other synths that I've used. And you will notice, if you make some kind of dirty neural respace in here and you compare it to a lot of other synths, you're going to be like, that's different. That's awesome. So yeah, in regards to the, one of the new features that they've added are the kind of, I'm not sure if they had this in the last patch or not, but it's noticeable now. It's where you can see the harmonics that are on here, but it also reacts to the way that you are changing everything with these partials or harmonics or whatever, so you can see what's actually happening to your waveform, which I think is pretty nice, especially if you are somebody that's kind of techie like me that wants to be like, yo, this thing is like super peaking outside of the sub, which I will say the biggest complaint that I still have about this is, hey, help the creators out, especially for people that want to make presets for you. Add a wavetable maker, please. That would be the only thing that I would say. In regards to that, the other major update that they've added is a mixer, which you can set anything to direct out, which I actually think that's super handy because before I think it was just only sub that you could do that with. And then finally, the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about is the brand new I guess we can just use this patch. It's a new frequency shifter / ring mod / amplitude modulator, which these two are pretty much the same. I wanted to save this for last because this is one of those devices that you kind of have to like just mess with and make sounds with. But it's really cool, and it's really handy for quite a large amount of things. For one, if you apply the FM over on the left, you can actually make stuff sound more like growl bassy because of the FM in a way that seems very natural. This is also a really good way for ring mod to make snares or stick hits or rim shots, if you will. It's also really good for making metallic sounds. So a quick overview is you've got your FM right here. You have your frequency adjuster over here to where you've got these different modes. You can change the soft sync to on and off. This will stereoize everything, or sorry, this will spread it out. This will make it stereo. And then you've got a feedback system here that you can utilize to kind of help accentuate some of that frequency delayed stuff. So it's like a frequency shifter, but you can add short amounts of delay to it to make it smear, and that's where you get your metallic stuff, along with a filter here. That's pretty nice. There's crossfeed. You've got your sync if you want this to sync to your tempo. And after that, all of this stuff that I just explained doesn't really mean anything because you kind of just have to get in there and mess with it. And I'm not going to explain this over on the left because this is on everything. But yeah, let's go ahead and take this patch and see what we can turn it into. You can also make bubbles, apparently. I'm going to turn this other stuff off because I want to really hear what this is doing. And let's actually go ahead and initialize this and then pull up a wave shifter on its own. That way you can hear what's happening to the saw wave. So as you can see, like, it's almost difficult to even explain what's happening because you kind of just have to listen to it and mess with this. But there's just from one effect, there's a huge amount of different sounds that we're already cycling through. That's awesome. So if we were to add something like cluster delay, if we add something kind of like a square and make this kind of fast, kind of like so, then we can start to do some really cool like gated trance things, which is not in my genre, but what I like about messing with this is it kind of pushes me towards being like, hey, that kind of sounds like this, and I want to lean into it and just go with the sound design, because sometimes you can end up getting some really interesting things. which that is a little bit sharp, but as you can see, there's still some really cool. Yeah. So with that, I think that the new updates and whatnot are definitely a welcome feature. Some stuff that I would like to see is just making tools for people that want to make stuff for minimal audio. So, for example, wavetable would be great. One thing that I've kind of had a lot of trouble with, which I've read the manual several times and still mess this up, is that with the XY pad that they have, it sounds, and looks really cool, but I wish that with the photos and whatnot that you could upload, especially when you create packs and all that, because they have things that, you can make a user pack and whatnot. Providing the images and getting everything right in that way has proven to be kind of cumbersome. And I would know because I have a preset pack called maximum voltage, to where I thought that I've done everything right. And some of that stuff would be kind of cool to be able to put a flagship picture, especially when I'm doing demos or something that, could have my logo right there in the middle or something. I think would be really awesome. That's a really minor thing. The only other things that I could really think of that I'm like, hey, this would be super awesome, is kind of just leaning into some of the MIDI stuff that they've provided, because there is an arpeggiator and a chord. And don't get me wrong, like, this is a great starting point, but who's to say that adding more scales and or even maybe even doing something like EDO or microtonal or something could be kind of cool. But I can't really think of anything that this synth actually like needs. It pretty much has everything for you to get started with. And if you need to utilize more effects outside of these racks and whatnot, then you can always place that on the outside. But most of the time, the fact that you can have multiple instances of distortion, filtering, and compression, for me, that covers basses and that covers drums, and everything else is kind of just like a cherry on top. So I definitely say, like, hop in there and definitely, of course, make your own stuff and have fun with it and whatnot, but really do yourself a favor and try out all of the presets and whatnot that they have, because that's really where this plugin shines the most with these different things. With that being said, I'm kind of curious as to what you all think about the new update. And would you like to see me do a new pack? As it's been a while, I think since last year, I think I did the maximum voltage pack or something, but I'd be kind of interested to maybe utilize some of the new things that this has to offer and see what cool sounds I can come up with. But thank you, Minimal Audio. I appreciate this. If you all didn't know, they have provided a copy for me, and I've been pretty transparent with that, with all the minimal stuff that I've covered. But yeah, it's something that I think is definitely worth taking a look at, especially if you are not into doing like, if you're into sound design, but not to the point of you're wanting to do like racks on racks on racks and something like Faceplant. And then of course, this just sounds really good. So get at it, have fun. Thank you, Minimal Audio, and let me know what you all think in the comments.